Believe it or not, I'm a huge Blink-182 fan. In high school, I was in a Blink cover band. I've been to quite a few shows, and I even have a Blink-182 tattoo. Seriously, I love this band. So when I heard that Tom DeLonge was quitting to pursue other interests, I was devastated. Like, we're talking stay in bed all day depressed. But then I heard he went to work full-time at his company, To the Stars, which he created to shed light on UFOs and aliens. How cool is that? The guitarist of my favorite band is now studying one of my favorite subjects, aliens? He's produced music and books with To the Stars, and he's actually helped shed light on real subjects. You remember the Tic Tac UFO footage the Pentagon released a little while back? Well, you have Tom DeLonge to thank for that, believe it or not. There's one more thing he released, and that's the subject of tonight's review, Monsters of California, a work of fiction written and directed by Tom DeLonge. First, we meet Dallas and his two friends, Riley and Toe. Yeah, that's his name, Toe. They all head into an abandoned house in the middle of the woods, the perfect place to hold a seance and summon some ghosts. And that's exactly what they're here doing. You see, Dallas and his friends are always going around doing stuff like this, led by coordinates in his deceased father's notebook. It's not long before they get the attention of a ghost.
Oh, God!
Hijinks ensue, Toe gets knocked out of a window, but in the end they all run away scared, but stoked with the experience they just had. I mean, I would be. This is more evidence than Zach Baggins ever got.
Who were you touching earlier? What was her name? Your mom?
Is this spirit being a smartass by saying that it was touching my mom?
Dallas comes home the next morning and we meet his family, his little brother, and his smoking hot sister and mom. They get a visitor, Jim, their father's best friend and co-worker in the military, who's dropping off some of his dad's old things. While chit-chatting, he asks Dallas if he's ever seen anything weird in his father's things, specifically an old phone with some Velcro, which he honestly hasn't. Around the dinner table, Dallas tells his family about his night and the ghostly encounter he had. His mom, being really religious, doesn't like him dabbling in this stuff. They argue about that, teenage angst, the typical, "Mom, you don't understand me" stuff.
Damn it!
So, perhaps in an attempt to rebel even more, Dallas and his friends try to contact his father, which obviously doesn't work. But they do find something interesting. His dad's old notebook, marked classified, and the phone/GPS that Jim was looking for. They turn it on, and to their surprise, it still works, giving the kids some new coordinates to explore. In the morning, we get even more angry teenager Dallas when he sees Myron stay the night, his mom's boyfriend. But they're up pretty early, celebrating, because he's not her boyfriend anymore, but her fiancé, which Dallas, being an understandable adult, is totally cool with. I get it. He feels like his mom is giving up on his father, moving on, but I don't think that's the case at all. She's just as upset and hurt at the passing of her husband as the rest of them. It's just that she's able to cope with her emotions. Up in his room, the three friends goof around, practicing how to pickpocket, which is something everyone should know how to do. Meanwhile, Dallas researches this new classified notebook a little more, learning about someone named Dr. Walker, who worked on the project with his father. But really, who has time for that when there's more important things to do, like check out Dallas's sister? Oh, holy moly.
Dude, what are you looking at?
The next day, Dallas meets with Jim at the base, giving him the classified binder he found, but holding off on the GPS for now. not fully trusting him just yet. And he's right not to. I smell something up with Jim myself.
We have a situation.
After leaving the base, it's time for Dallas to go to his job, which seems to be a coffee shop. This chick Kelly comes in wanting a bottle of water, and Dallas goes all limp in the knees wanting to show her around town. Kelly's new and she doesn't have any friends, so she agrees. You can see what's going on here. He fills her in on a sliver of what him and his friends are up to in their spare time, hunting UFOs and such. And surprisingly, she's not scared away. Every girl I ever told that I was into the paranormal never called me back.
What, like a UFO?
But I guess I don't have Dallas's good looks.
This was like the worst date ever.
Oh. So you're calling this a date now?
Later on, Riley looks up the location of the coordinates displayed on the GPS. And luckily, they're not far from here. Someplace in the middle of the woods where a bunch of campers have gone missing. Sounds like it might be worth checking out. They swing on by Kelly's to pick her up. But her parents aren't too thrilled about their daughter hanging out with a bunch of immature idiots.
Just one second. She can't go. They're assholes.
So she has to sneak out. And with that, they're off on another grand paranormal adventure. They set up camp and talk about all the missing people. This looks familiar. Campers out in the woods, sitting around the fire. Unbeknownst to our friends, the military's keeping a watchful eye on them, no doubt led by Jim. Finally, they decide to take a look around, and eventually they find a cave. They head on in, and as they get deeper and deeper, they keep getting whiffs of something. What is this? An alien movie? Or a Bigfoot movie? Well, how about both? That's right, our heroes are attacked by a Sasquatch. How awesome is that? You can imagine how excited I was when I first saw this. They run out of the cave and back to the camp, being chased the whole time. Instead of trying to get away in the car or something smart like that, they hide out in their tent. A thin piece of nylon, the only thing separating them from being ripped apart. After Toe gets peed on, that's something that happens, they hear a gunshot and the beast is scared away. Who's their savior? Why, none other than Dr. Walker. It's a small world after all. He talks to him about the GPS, and we learn that he's the one that invented it. He made the device to track microgravitational anomalies, or UFOs.
Give it to me.
Give away.
The GPS.
He also says that the aliens can mess with your mind, making a hologram to make you see what they want. So it would seem Bigfoot isn't real, but just the aliens making him think he was. Tell that to Toe, who got peed on. But there isn't much time to talk now. Walker tells the kids where to meet him and tells them they'll talk more tomorrow.
That's all you got?
The next morning, Dallas meets with his family again. When does this kid find time to sleep? He's out all night and then up early to argue with Mom. And right now is no exception, because she just dropped a bombshell. The family's gonna move over an hour away to live with Myron. Yeah, you bet Dallas isn't gonna take that news too well. You see, this whole time, Dallas hasn't given up hope yet. He still thinks his father's alive out there somewhere, just lost or trapped, but not a ghost. He feels that if his dad was a spirit, then he would have communicated with him by now. At least that's what keeps him going.
Hey, do you know what it's like?
Later that day, everyone shows up at Dr. Walker's house. Or, shack. And we see that he's pretty paranoid. Rightfully so, because the military are looking for him. Luckily for them, the kids just let him right to his front doorstep. He talks a bit about angels and demons, getting pretty metaphysical for a minute. He goes on to say that humans have known about this stuff for a long time, but ever since the 60s the government's been studying it. But man isn't ready to accept that aliens are in control. The doctor doesn't agree with this. That's why he went AWOL in the first place. He thinks humans have a right to know, and the government needs to disclose the truth. And speaking of the government, they come a-knocking, looking to take Walker in. Him and the kids rush into his secret underground cave he dug under his house. How one man can dig all this up, I'll never know. They rush off and notice the whole place is wired to blow. And after a little bit, it does. Better for them to lose it all than to have the bad guys get their hands on anything. They make their escape out into the desert, only to get stopped by Jim.
Hey, Doc.
What's up, Doc?
He takes everyone to a secret Area 51-like base. Heck, maybe it is Area 51. Jim talks to Dallas a bit, but really he gets nothing out of him. So Jim throws him back into a room with all his friends. But something's up. I'm pretty sure the military in this situation wouldn't keep everyone together in the same room so they can come up with a plan. But that's exactly what happens. And that's exactly what Jim wants. He wants them to lead him to the location of the next phenomenon.
Well, let's see where they take us.
They all manage to escape. Toad tries to pickpocket an armed guard, but with his skills, that doesn't go so well. So they just knock him out instead.
Get his keys. Come on, guys. Let's get to the tarmac.
Eventually, they find themselves in a giant room with a UFO in it. That's right. You didn't think Tom DeLonge was going to make a movie and not include a spaceship, did you? Well, they steal a Humvee, and for some reason, they let Toad drive it. Trust me, there are far more qualified people in this group to drive. He wrecks into everything, including the UFO, making it fall over and blow up. Whoops. Someone's gonna have to pay for that. Finally, they make it outside, into the desert, and the location Walker knows the aliens will be. And sure enough, after a little while, there's a light on the horizon. Dallas walking toward it, his friends not far behind, and the military catching up, but staying back just enough to let Dallas have his experience. Eventually, he's pulled up into the craft. There's a lot that happens here, and it gets a bit too metaphysical for me. Talking about how every possibility ever is happening all at once, and our minds make it real, so you just have to tune into the right frequency. And then it talks about how religion can box you in. Instead, you have to think of it all just as energy. Like I said, it's weird and doesn't really make sense to me. Maybe I'm not in the right mindset, if you catch my drift. But still, I'm lost. After that, it's all over. Dallas talks to Jim a bit, who did a complete 180 and is no longer the bad guy of the movie. Dallas does end up pickpocketing him, stealing a flash drive. He later sends it to some lady, and we see that it's the Tic Tac UFO footage. Later on, Dallas is out in the desert digging up something. This is a location that Walker told him to go to, but instead of being where the next alien spaceship will be, it's a map with the location and time that his father will return. And that was Monsters of California. What'd you think? Honestly, I'm pretty biased, being such a big Blink fan, but I was surprised here. The music is great, the lighting and cinematography, it all stands out and looks like a big budget blockbuster. The story's pretty fun too. There were times that this movie felt like a paranormal Goonies, with all the adventures Dallas and his friends were going on. However, it's not perfect. Specifically, the end UFO sequence. It just didn't make sense to me personally. Aliens and timelines bleeding over and how our minds are able to control it all? I don't know. Sure, the human brain is pretty cool, and I can surely decide my own fate, but sometimes things happen that are out of our control. I don't think aliens have anything to do with that. The movie also dogs on religion quite a bit. Honestly, just let people believe what they want. But I get it, that's the whole point of the movie, to expand our minds outside of the box, to break down the barriers that religion can put up. But I say, why not both? I'm a pretty religious dude, but I also believe in ghosts, aliens, and Bigfoot. I think most people can accept that we don't understand how the universe works, and that's okay. We should be open to really anything and what anyone believes. Should you watch Monsters of California? Well, yeah, totally. What other movie has Bigfoot and aliens in it? And Bigfoot looks good. They really didn't spare any expense or cut corners anywhere. For his first movie, Tom DeLonge did an amazing job. Some people might not like all the immature dick jokes, but when I think of Blink-182, I remember back when I was a 20-something immature idiot. This movie actually kind of takes me back to a fun part of my life, where I had much less responsibility and was more carefree. I recommend Monsters of California, but I would understand if it's not for everyone. If you like Blink-182 humor, then give it a watch. And don't take it too seriously. I give it 3 Bigfoots peeing on toe out of 4.
I just want to look at your sister naked. Just for a minute, please. Can I just look at your sister naked?